All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Thanks for being here. We've got a special treat today. It's always great to get to bring in a guest artist, share their time with you. It's even better when you do so within a month. So John Hayes graduated in 2014. He's out in the jazz program, playing bass in the jazz combo. He's gone on to do some wonderful things as a singer-songwriter. So he's going to spend some time in this first hour talking about singing, songwriting, guitar playing, and music business, and all of that. And we're going to take a short break between classes, and we'll come back to it all, of course. Period. Plenty of time for questions. So if you've got a good question, verbally, hold on to it, and we'll let you know if it's time to throw your hand up. All right? Let's put it together for John Hayes.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was so cool. Somebody was saying Mr. Schumacher's name right before the class got started. And it's been like so long since anybody who's known Mr. Schumacher's name that I've been with. So just hearing that again made me flash back to high school, and I'm like, finally somebody knows who all these awesome people are. Give it up for Mr. Schumacher. I loved him so much back when I was here 10 years ago. Okay, so I know this is like a songwriting workshop. How many songwriters do we have in the room today? Raise your hand. I don't care if you've written full songs, little ditties, anybody just written little things in their head. Come on, raise it high, raise it high. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, sweet, I love it, I love it. So I'm gonna get to do like a full performance in the next hour. I'm gonna do a couple songs kind of throughout the time today, just to kind of share some of my music, talk about some of the influences behind the scenes. I got to speak to Mr. Schumacher's guitar class that was going through kind of like a composition and songwriting section a couple weeks ago, right before you guys had Thanksgiving break. And just kind of got to share some of the things that I've picked up over the years of writing. For our songwriters, raise your hands back up again. I'm going to embarrass you just a little bit. It's okay. Okay. All right. Believe shirt right there. When did you start writing? When did you start writing? A couple of years ago. What about us? We got anybody who started writing? Okay, let's do this. You started writing at the age of 10. Raise your hand. Come on. Come on. Okay, great. What about the age of 8? Okay, nice, nice. I know usually the younger you get, it gets to be like, well, I came up with this little counter melody. Does that count? I think the most amazing thing about songwriting is that I feel like even if you ask the most accomplished songwriters, I can't speak for composers, like score composers necessarily, but the theme that I've noticed with songwriters that I've looked up to is it's a lot like mining for something, right? So there's this thing where you feel like you can't really take full credit for it. You definitely put work into it, right? And you're trying to craft things, but in the beginning, especially with the inception of an idea, you're kind of just looking around and tapping on things until you go, ah, that's what it is. And oftentimes I've heard songwriters, and I would be one of these people too, that talks about how it feels like a song finds you rather than you making a song. Do you guys know what I'm talking about with that? And so I think over time, I think when you first get started, it can be this thing of, well, how do I write songs? How do I write better songs? How do I find inspiration to kind of make that first little moment? And that's the part, at least for me, that I can't necessarily dissect, because it does feel kind of like a transcendent thing a little bit, rather than, oh, well, I learned this scale and this helped me to write this. Those things definitely happen, but I think at the end of the day, throughout your whole songwriting journey, I think you're going to continue to find these things of, you're kind of just mining around, and then you find something, and it's your skills and your knowledge and your head knowledge and your practice time that then helps you to get better and better at refining those ideas and having better and better musical instincts. So this is a song that I wanted to share with you today, and kind of processing right now. It was kind of a turning point for me in my music a little bit. I went through some really hard, abusive things when I was a kid with some people really close to me, and I think because of that, I wrote a lot of moodier music. I would oftentimes go to songwriting as an emotional crutch, right? And most of the time when I was doing that, it was to deal with hard emotions, with depressing emotions, rather than like super happy, joyous occasions. And that became more and more cemented in me as I went through my teenage years and even into my college years. And I ended up getting into this kind of a rut where if I tried to write a happy song, it was going to sound really, really corny and like very trite, and like this is just not the thing to do. But slowly over time, as I started kind of digesting more and more music, And also, I think my internal demeanor started to improve a little bit, and I was making better relationships, kind of getting better mental health and emotional health and all these different things. I got to a point where happier songs started to come through me a little more naturally. And so this was the first happy song that I wrote in more of my mature years, teenage years, up until right now, that I was actually like, you know what, this is a good thing, this is something I'm proud of. And I think kind of the core thing we can pull away from this for you guys as you're looking to write, as you're looking to create things, is, especially as you get older, remembering back all these memories that you're going to make right now, the memories you have from your childhood, becomes a really good fuel, at least in my case, for writing and for pulling out good compositions. Because at least for me, I notice if I feel something deeply, then I can usually write something pretty deeply. Okay, this is a song called Nothing to Find. It's a little summer drive tune, which is kind of weird to play in December, but at the same time, it's kind of good to bring some of that summer air into the room today. It's called Nothing to Find. Take a ride down to the coast, you and I with nothing to know. Let's take a ride down to the sunrise, you and I with nothing to find, with nothing to find. To find. Let's take a ride to somewhere old, where they know just how much we've grown. Let's take a ride, just you and me. Remember all the ways that we used to be, with nothing to find, with nothing to find, with nothing to find, with nothing to find. Let's take a ride to somewhere safe, familiar as a warm embrace. I've been needing to shed this skin, oh, I've been needing to let it all in. I've been needing to shed this skin, oh, I've been needing to let it all in, yeah. Oh, I said, well, I've been needing to shed this skin, oh, I've been needing to let it all in. Nothing to find, with nothing to find, with nothing to find. Thank you. All right, so that song was all about actually growing up right here in Massachusetts. I'm actually back out in Michigan now. I'm out in Michigan, southwest Michigan, long ways away from here. But I grew up most of my life right here in Massachusetts, been a big part of it in Haverhill, and then I kind of choice student back in. I kind of cheated my way back into Pentucket school system. So my older brother is 5.5 years older than me, and so anybody who's got older siblings, you know the benefit of that. You know, they pick on you a lot as they get their license first, and so then even though you don't have your license yet, you kind of get a little bit of the 18-year-old freedom by getting to hitch a ride with them whenever you need it. And my brother and I, we had his best friend who became like a second older brother to me, worked right at Hampton Beach, and we used to take all these late summer night drives from Haverhill out to Hampton Beach, and sometimes it'd be 10 o'clock at night or something like that. And I got to have all these really core memories of getting to drive up and down the Massachusetts and New Hampshire coast, heading out there. And so I think that became kind of a core memory for me that influenced the writing of this song, was this summertime thing and unpacking all of what that means. So I want to know for you guys, for our writers, what are some of the main things you end up grabbing onto? Do you grab onto mostly like more depressive emotions, happier emotions for the songs you've written so far? Where do you feel like you're drawing inspiration from oftentimes? You just call it out. Go ahead. Anybody? Come on. You can do it. Now I know how Mr. Schumacher feels trying to get class participation. Probably anger. Hey, that's pretty sweet. Okay, cool. What genre of music are you working in right now? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's one of the beautiful things is that I think with songwriting, I feel like you have to be like honest with yourself and honest with your thoughts and your emotions. I feel like oftentimes if you're trying to say, well, I should think this or I should say this, that's where I think the lowest quality art ends up coming out of, because you're trying to kind of restrict and contort your heart and emotions into a position that's not actually genuine, and so then you're kind of leaning into this uninspired type of thing. So thank you for sharing. What's your name? Cole. Thank you for Cole. Thank you for participating, Cole. So moving on from there, something that I think happened with this song is, like I said, I think continually, I just ended up writing from whatever spot I was at. And there were definitely times where I think I was leaning into my heady side rather than my emotional side and going, well, no, I should think this or I should think that. And I think those times are the songs that I ended up not being proud of the whole song, or ended up not being proud of the parts that I was leaning into that analytical, let me say the right thing here instead of let me say the honest thing here. And so what happened with this song is kind of another element that we'll talk about is if there's a certain genre of music that you really enjoy, right, but you're going, I can't seem to get to write in that. Either you're having a hard time writing within that genre, or you're having a hard time writing something competent within that genre, right? Something that I think happened to me over time that I didn't even realize with this tune was that I was still digesting these kind of songs oftentimes. Anybody know the band Switchfoot? Anybody know the lead singer John Foreman? That ring a bell for anybody? It's okay. I'm like super old now compared to you guys, so it's okay. You do? Awesome, you do. Okay, sweet. So John Foreman writes a lot of these. He spent most of his life, and he still lives there in San Diego, right? So that's like Southern California coast. He ends up writing a lot of these songs that just remind you of the coast, reminds you of the beach for some reason. A lot of these bright, cheery chord progressions. But he's also not afraid to wrestle with pain, and so he kind of has this beautiful dichotomy to his music oftentimes. And I've been listening to Switchfoot since I was a kid, with all these bright, happy, all that kind of stuff from Switchfoot for something like 15, 20 years. And then finally he put out a solo record that I was digesting a lot before I wrote Nothing to Find. And unintentionally, I totally ended up ripping off the chord progression like 100%. Once I got done with writing Nothing to Find, I realized I ripped off this song. Red and gold, fingers in twilight, the ancient fold. The fingers in twilight, the night takes hold. The sunset is nearly down. And that was a total coastal song, and I was like, shoot, totally ripped off that chord progression. That's okay. I don't think anybody can really get a copyright on a chord progression. So much of our pop music is the same exact chord progressions over and over and over and over again. And so I think the point is that if there's a genre of music or even a type of music that you're wanting to get to eventually, the best thing you can do is to be listening to that continually. And your taste is going to change, and that's okay. But whatever is like most inspiring for you as a listener, before you get to the writing and the musicianship and all that kind of stuff, whatever's most inspiring to you as a listener, listen to those things a lot. For me, I'm kind of one of those people where if I find a song that I like, I just put it on repeat for like a whole day. Maybe anybody else like that in here? Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy. I would end up loving all these different artists, and I remember I got into John Mayer, back into John Mayer in like my middle school years, and I'd only been listening to like 2 or 3 songs, and it was finally in my AP government class, my junior year. I was talking to a person I graduated with, Ali Atanasio, and we were talking about John Mayer, and I was like, yeah, I'm a John Mayer fan. And she's like, oh yeah? What do you like? Like No Such Thing in Why Georgia? And that was literally the only 2 songs I'd been listening to for like 5 years, and I was like, no, yes, those are the only 2 songs I was listening to. But that literally pushed me in to go, okay, I'm gonna go check out the rest of this guy's catalog and listen to it. So like I said, I think the main thing is if you want to push into a certain genre of music, then listen to that, digest that a lot. Honestly, I forget where I saw it. I was reading a rapper named Andy Mineo, and his Instagram post was talking about how like artists are always standing on the shoulders of those who have influenced them, right? And I think sometimes as a teenager I could remember wanting to be really original and really, like, oh, this has never been done before. But I think that to be human is to end up like copying things. But the main thing to make it worth your while and true to who you are is, okay, are you digesting those things and then spitting those back out in different ways over time? And sometimes that just takes writing over and over and over and over again. So once again, yeah, if you want to be able to write in certain genres, definitely digest it a lot. But I'd say also listen to your ear, because your ear is going to go through different times and different seasons where different genres of music really stick out to you and really resonate with you. So, was it Cole? I'm terrible with names, so I was so afraid I was going to get that wrong. So Cole, I think, how old are you, Cole? 14. Yeah, I think at your age, man, I was into a lot of hard rock stuff, and then I eventually got into like post-hardcore stuff, which was like huge back in like mid-2010s, especially in the Massachusetts area. There's a lot of people here at Pentucket that were in hardcore bands and loving hardcore music. And that's really what I wanted to do for a time. I ended up putting all that stuff away. I don't really listen to hardcore as much anymore. But that ended up influencing some of the guitar riffs and some of the influences I had in like this bluesy John Mayer-like music that I ended up writing 10 years later, right? So even though I think for me, having some OCD tendencies at you guys' age, I could be really worried that like, oh, I'm gonna write this song and it's gonna sound weird because I'm combining this together, and well, now my song is trying to fit in multiple boxes and it doesn't really work. And the great thing is as your ear evolves and pulls from all these different influences, once you do kind of arrive at, this is my own box that I've kind of built for myself, you have a lot of different things to kind of pull from. So I want to open it up for questions. If there's no questions, that's okay. But do we have any questions about songwriting in general, where to pull inspiration from, the craft of songwriting? Any questions so far? Yeah, what's up? The backing beat. Are you saying like, how do I think of it, or how do I actually like program it? Oh, you know what? So yeah, I think that's another thing that you don't have to worry about too much. There's even times where songwriters will step into a songwriting session, right? And they'll go, hey, I really love this song, right? And they might even just like take that beat and go, cool, we're gonna start off with this. And what ends up happening naturally is like, even if it was the exact same beat, exact same BPM, that thing in and of itself, and I'm not legal counsel, so please don't sue me if this is wrong, but that thing in and of itself, so many songs will use the exact same backbeat. That's why drummers are able to kind of learn a couple different key patterns depending on what genre they're in, and a lot of songs are just slight variations of sort of thing. So you're not going to get into trouble by taking that. That's not really like a copyrightable thing. The main thing is like, okay, I can take this as an influence and then let me get inspired by what's going on within my song. So I can use this song as a reference, but then I need to kind of take a step back. And the great thing is as you start employing tools with like recording software and stuff like that, as you get more comfortable with different instruments, you'll start to get that kind of feedback loop going of, I'm inspired and therefore I create, and because I create, I'm inspired, and then your song will end up naturally moving away from the song you're kind of referencing. Does that make sense? Cool, did I answer your question okay? Okay. Got any other questions here? Yeah, what's up? Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to try to take a stab at this. I got to be totally honest. I didn't spend a lot of time. Maybe that's not true. I feel like maybe I did write some poetry. I think oftentimes I would end up writing poetry indirectly, like I'd be thinking about it in a song context. And there have been times, I think early on, or like in the middle of my songwriting development time compared to where I'm at right now, where I would have lyrics but no melody, sometimes melody with no lyrics, and for me those things have just kind of naturally been married over time. I would say there's probably some clunky ways to do it at first. I think that the overall brushstrokes, if I can do this for kind of like a lot of these questions about how do I make a good backbeat without copying, how do I get poetry into music without it feeling weird and stiff and clunky. A lot of these things is you have to be willing to make mistakes, or like you have to be willing to accept that you're not going to make something that's knocked out of the park every time. I think you have to like give yourself that grace and give yourself that space to go, more than likely, this song that I care so much about, I may not be using 10 years from now. Like if I continue to develop a songwriting career, continue to develop an artist career, there's gonna be a lot of songs that I feel very, very dear about, that I'm like very protective of, that I end up like tossing in the trash like 10 years later, right? Which is hard in the moment. I think some things you can do is maybe before you go to town, writing all your lyrics, think about, okay, here's what this poem is about. And are you a musician as well? Okay. Play drums? Okay, cool. So I think even with that, you can start to figure out, okay, what BPM do I want this to be at? How fast or slow do I want this to be? And from there, that can influence how you're writing your poetry, how you're writing your lyrics then. Because sometimes you could make something that is really good to just be a poem, and it may not always work perfectly. You may not be able to find the right melody, the right BPM, the right feel for the music. So sometimes it's helpful to kind of have the end product in mind. That way, that can help to curb some of your decisions while you're making kind of those poetic decisions, if that makes sense. So I'll definitely say, like, keep it in mind. If you've got like these finished poems and you're going, I'd really like to make these into songs, I think go through them and maybe try to get inspired musically first, okay? So like poems aside, try to get musically inspired first and go, cool, now I have an idea of like what's going on melodically and harmonically, that's what I want to happen. Now which one of these poems fits that vibe well, type of thing, and then go from there. And then don't be afraid to pick some things apart and even make something new out of that. I think the key to all this stuff is like don't get too anxious and don't be afraid to make something new or to take things apart in order to make something new. So, what's your name? What was it? Zoe, good to meet you, Zoe. Thank you so much for the question. We got any more questions about songwriting? Yeah, what's up? Speak up a little louder. Do I ever feel blown away by my own music? Sometimes, like, and hopefully it doesn't sound like really cocky. I think because you spend so much time going, oh, this is garbage, oh, this is garbage, oh, this is garbage, right? You have like the initial inspiration period where like you think everything you're making is like the best thing in the world, because it is very satisfying, especially for you guys who are starting to step into like recording software, whether it's GarageBand, Logic, Reaper, whatever it is. It's a very satisfying thing when you start to figure out how to get what starts off as a feeling in your head, right? Because you haven't done all the homework yet of knowing what parts, what instruments take which parts, and what you're really hearing in your head all the way. As that starts to develop and you start to get to record that yourself, and then eventually as you develop as an arranger, you're hearing all the different parts and you're like, this is the piano, this is the strings, this is electric guitar, oh, I want to have saxophone in this. When you have that full roadmap in your head and then you're finally in the session and you're building all this stuff out for the first time and you get to hear it without having to use your imagination, that is like the most satisfying thing ever. And my wife can tell you, anytime I get that moment in a session, I'll end up like looping it for like an hour and like sending, voice memos to like all my friends on Facebook of like, check out this thing I just made, it's super legit. and getting obsessed with it. And then I kill that for myself. And then like a week later, I'm like, oh, this is garbage. This is so bad. Oh, I'm pitchy there. That's bad tone. This is not smart. So yes, that does happen sometimes. And I feel like when I finally get far enough removed from the song, when it's released, I might get kind of insecure about it and go, oh man, nobody's going to like this. But then sometimes when I've come back to it after like a year of not listening to it, I'm able to appreciate and go, man, you know, my insecurities were really not valid. Like this is a good piece of work, something I can be proud of for that season that I was in. So, yeah, so for sure. What sparked that question for you? Are you thinking about other artists, thinking about your own work? What kind of sparked that for you? Other artists, yeah, for sure.
Do you think that's important?
Say what?
Do you think that's important?
To love your own work?
No, that process of understanding music.
Understanding your own music? Yeah, I think it's important. I think because, I mean, honestly, I think it's important because you're going to be having, like, your music is a part of you, right? Like, it's a part of what you believe, what you think, what you're feeling, your ability and talent level at that time, whatever it is. And so if you have this like adverse relationship with the stuff you've made, it's kind of like you're having an adverse relationship with a piece of yourself, right? And so that's a very disharmonious way to live. And so I think when you can kind of come back around to being in harmony with your own creation, it's a really good spot to be in. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it's funny. I think this is a process of repetition as well, right? So, like the broad stroke we talked about earlier, right, was being willing to accept things not being great, right? Like being willing to take things apart, being willing to accept that not every song has been knocked out of the park. I think with the repetition thing, this is also just about getting the reps in, right? So as far as almost like a working out model, you're gonna be really bad with your form at first, and you just have to keep doing it even though you're bad at it to figure it out. And I think the same thing happens with repeating topics and phrases. I think over time, you find more, my brain's blanking on the word, almost like noble or dignified ways of saying things, more poetic and resonant ways of saying simple or complicated things that really help to drive home your message in a creative and an artful way. And then, especially as you start to have like a catalog of music that's out, for me at least, I start to have a filter of like, oh, I said this the exact same way the last time. Let me try to pivot and show like a little bit different angle of this thing going on. And this is also where I feel like all I can speak is from my own perspective. Me being a verbal processor is really helpful because I think I spent a lot of years appreciating and dissecting the work of this guy named Kevin Kline. Anybody know the band Valley Heart? Valley Heart, they're like a small local band from Massachusetts that do some touring. Really cool guys, and Kevin kind of went through a whole thing of like deconstructing his faith and working through all these different things. And for me, like listening to his lyrics was really amazing because he painted things almost the way you do it with a camera angle. Okay, so he was doing things in a way that was really cool. And the reason I talk about this is because I verbally processed to so many different people when I was dissecting his lyrics. I explained that thing over and over and over and over again. And here's the cool part is by listening to his work and then by verbally processing with other people and within my own mind what he was doing and how it came across to me, it helped me to eventually start writing lyrics in that way. Okay, so that's something too where then even if you are repeating yourself, there are a lot of different shades to use within that same color, right? So if that emotion or that topic, that theme is a color, there's a lot of different shades, a lot of different angles you can get at while still staying in that same wheelhouse. Does that make sense? Any more questions? Any more questions? Songwriting? No? Yeah, what's up? How long do you usually take to write a song? This will definitely be different. I feel like, I want to make sure I'm not like inaccurate with this. I feel like it's different it could be different every time. I feel like I'm probably in a pattern right now of a very low and slow approach, right? So I'll create the idea, and honestly for me, I'm doing this full time for like this short season of like the 2 months between losing my last job and starting my next job, and we'll see. Kind of take it a month at a time, and if things keep working, then I'll keep doing it. But I do it part time, and so oftentimes I'm writing while I'm doing other things, you know, and that works well for my ADHD, because then it's like I get to focus on something, and then all my creativity can be going on in the background. But I think because of that, because I'm not giving myself like intentional, okay, this is a 3-hour writing block, right? That stuff will usually be done more in recording and arrangement, and then I'm kind of just fleshing out lyrics and melodies and all that different stuff, and making notes on my phone about different melodies I'm having for different parts of the arrangement. So it might be as long as like 3, 6, 8 months, maybe even a year of like fully building out a song. You can definitely go faster than that. It doesn't have to take that long, but I find taking that long allows you to like get the initial inspiration out and just kind of let it continue to marinate in your own mind. And you start to understand the identity of the song better, and then you get to kind of craft it more into like what will make it what it is for a very long time, if that makes sense. So, got any more questions about songwriting? Yeah, what's up? I don't. This past time, which actually this is a good question, so we can transition into some of the business stuff before you guys have to head out of here. So I didn't for a long time, because it's expensive, right? It can be very expensive, even with a lot of the good things that have happened over the past, I don't know, I'd say 15, 20, maybe 25 years of a lot of studios being like kind of decentralized. I mean, I feel like back in like maybe the 70s, I'm kind of reaching here, I don't know for sure, but back in like 70s and everything, it'd be really, really expensive to get in the studios. But then with like the advent of the computer and that becoming a more accessible thing for people, then little studios became more popular. Now, for you guys, I mean, home studios are really accessible to where you can do a lot of stuff with a $1,500 computer and $1,000 worth of gear, and you can make some really, really, really competent recordings with even stuff cheaper than that, right? So for me, I got my start. I didn't want to wait for having the funding to go spend $1,500 per song to get it, you know, tracked and mixed and mastered, and then still have to pay $300 for cover art in the back end, all this different stuff. So I definitely went the very DIY route, and so I started investing into having some basic budget level equipment, which if you know what you're doing, if you put the time in, especially as middle schoolers and high schoolers, you have a very valuable asset that you can go, okay, I may not have $3,000 to drop on all this gear, but I have plenty of time. I can say, okay, I'm not going to do this after school program. I'm going to go home and I'm going to put the hours in to learn how to record and mix. And honestly, you can buy a $100 mixing course and do a lot of YouTube stuff. And by the time you get out of high school, you can make some really, really killer stuff. So for me, I record at home mostly. And now, since I've started to build up like my gigging business and starting having regular income from my music expenses, then I was able to start reinvesting back into some studio time to get some things like drums. Like drums are just better to do in a studio unless you've got kind of an isolated space and everything. You can definitely do drums DIY, so don't let that discourage you. But for me, as I was trying to level up my music, I was going, you know what, instead of programming drums, instead of recording drums in the basement, I'm going to go into the studio and let somebody else handle this that really knows what they're doing. So now I'm starting to do kind of a hybrid approach where I record as much as I can at home. So that'll be vocals and acoustic guitars. I do electric guitars all digitally with this pedal board that's really, really great and gets studio level stuff without having to worry about miking up an amp or anything like that. So I do as much stuff in the box as I can, and then whatever I feel like would really step it up, then I'll go into the studio like I did this past time, and we'll knock out 4 songs in one day, because all we're doing is getting like core rhythm tracks, and then I'm bringing those home and building those out at home for arranging and everything. So, all right, last question for songwriting. Any more questions? Songwriting? Yeah, what's up? Say it again. How do I do my score? I'm sorry, I can't. Oh, in order, okay. I think for me this is a pretty natural progression where I think oftentimes I might end up writing a verse or a chorus first, and then I'm just thinking about, I might be literally thinking, okay, what's the next step in the story? Or I'll be thinking about, okay, how can I once again show this same thing from a little bit different angle? That way, that verse might be kind of a wide shot or a mid-wide shot if I'm thinking in video production terms. And then, verse 2 might be kind of off the angle a little bit to just show the same thing from a different angle. So for me, if it's a story thing, I don't do that very often, but if I'm doing a story thing, it's just kind of a natural progression of time where I'm thinking about, okay, verse establishes story, chorus is kind of the heart of the story, and then verse 2, I'm coming back and moving that story timeline forward a little bit. So, all right, so we got just a little bit of time left. So I wanted to talk to you guys about actually being able to, once you're out of high school, or even you can even do it right now, honestly, but like high school, college time, can you guys guess what the biggest hang-up for artists is? What's the biggest hang-up? It's the thing that they're lacking the most. Money. Yes, money, okay? That is like the biggest hurdle for any kind of artist, so whether it's you're doing visual art, whether you're trying to do video production, music, whatever it is, you usually have this thing, you're either having to use a lot of your time to save money, or you're having to use a lot of money to save your time. And those are really the only options you have, unless you're fortunate enough that like somebody who's a supportive family member is just like, just kidding, here's like $30,000, go make your record, chase your dreams, which that's awesome. If that happens, that's great. But for most people, that's not the case, right? So you have to figure out, okay, how can I take this in my own hands? And instead of waiting for some record label to sign me and all these different things that honestly you have to do the hard work ahead of time anyways. So even if you want to become a signed artist someday, record labels are looking for people who are not waiting for them. They're looking for people who already have a following, already have music out, all these different things. And so you're kind of back to square one once again where, okay, do I want to spend a lot of time or do I want to spend a lot of money, okay? That held me up for a long time because my wife and I got married young. We had kids pretty early in our marriage. And so we were not in a place where I could go out and make a whole bunch of extra money and invest in studio time or even to be able to get enough recording equipment at home to do everything at home at first. And so I had to do things very, very budget in the beginning and lean into my time, lean into talent and developing skills and all these different things. And then eventually I was able to kind of get things going. The biggest thing I can tell you guys is that, especially if you are like a solo artist, right? This isn't gonna apply for every different type of music, such as like EDM or like hardcore metal or stuff like that. I think you can use the blueprint and still think about it and figure out the ways. But especially if you are like a singer-songwriter, there's usually really good ways for you to make money consistently, which would be by playing in coffee shops, and once you're old enough, playing in breweries and wineries and restaurants, all these different places usually want live music because it elevates their customer's experience. And I've gotten to a place where I can charge like $100 an hour and say, hey, listen, I've got basic sound equipment I can bring in, and I'll play some covers and originals and kind of entertain people. And some places are happy to do that, especially with uppity winery places. Sometimes they'll be willing to play $130, $150 an hour. And so you go in and play a 2-3 hour gig, you can get a $300 to $400 guarantee and then make tips on top of that, okay? So that's really the key, at least for me, within my lane within music, of how I got going, running a music business, and then be able to take those funds and reinvest it back into equipment and recording time and merchandise and graphic design and all these different things. So that's kind of the quick of it. Do we have anybody that's like, I want to be a full-time artist? Anybody in here is looking to do that? Okay, great. What do you want to do? What kind of music? Awesome, yes, I love it, Like, what are your favorite artists right now? Cool, all right, what kind of music is that? I'm not familiar with them. Yeah, that's super cool, So what's your main instrument right now? Cool. Then what do you sing as well? Awesome, what about for you? I know you raised your hand too. Awesome, that's super great. And that's the cool part too, is that honestly, like, so let's say you don't have like a main melodic instrument or something like that. This is something where I think the key in the beginning of starting to gig is trying to keep the crew as small as possible, because you're not gonna make a ton of money. And so all of a sudden, if it's like, hey, we made $50 and there's like 5 people, like, all right, we get $10 a person, this is great. And then the restaurant's like, yeah, you also owe us like $25 for your meal. And like, this is great. So keeping it as small as possible in the beginning is really good, right? So for you guys, what do you play? Just sing? Yeah, that's cool. That's cool though. And I mean, there's probably plenty of people nowadays. When I was a kid, it felt like oh, you have to have this thing up on stage, and now there's like so many different things because tracks have become such a big thing that I'm like, you guys can do it. Do some cool like girl rock duo thing. It's like just drums and vocals and that's it. It'd be like legit. People would love that. Do we have any other people who are trying to be artists in here? Want to do it? Yeah, what's up, man? What do you play? Sorry, a little. Just shout it out. Guitar. You sing too? What's that? Yeah, sweet, man. What kind of music do you like playing? Anything? Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, so honestly, guys, like I said, I'm sharing from what my experience has been, but the thing I can encourage you towards the most is, like, do not accept this thing of like, well, because this person's blueprint doesn't fit to me now, I don't have a way to go out and make money from my project. I think the biggest thing with trying to be an artist is you have to be resilient and you have to be creative to think about, if this is the roadblock, how can I bend around this and can I get around this okay? I tell you what, we've only got a little bit of time left. I'm going to go ahead and end it right here unless we have any more last minute questions. Then we can kind of just hang out for a little bit before we end today. Any last minute questions? Nothing else? Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you very, very much. I have some merch up here if you guys want to be able to keep up with what I'm doing. A little QR code you guys can follow on Spotify, Instagram, all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
We'll take a little break. If you're coming back for second period, go check the teacher, break the bell rings, come back. A lot of people interested in songwriting, which is great. I'm going to recommend a quick plug, the guitar class and the B-class class that we offer here. We do songwriting in the guitar class, we do music production, creative beats and stuff in the B-class class. It's a great outlet for you to start to get into that stuff happening. So come up and say hi to John if you want to.
Also, Mr.
John's going to do a set for about half an hour, performance, and then do the last 15 or 20 in class. You can just kind of hang out, some questions. If you've got anything on your mind related to what you've heard or seen today, so you can just right out there. In the meantime, sit back, relax. Let's give it over to John.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so I tested this out with the college I was playing for, and thankfully people still knew this guy from that age bracket. But this is the real test. Does anybody know John Mayer? Oh my word, good. Oh, whew, scared me. I told the college kids, I'm like, I'm really afraid of the day when I'm like, oh yeah, I take a lot of influence from John Mayer, and everybody's like, who's John Mayer? I'm like really not looking forward to that. So thank you so much. Give it up for all the John Mayer fans in the room, keeping the real music alive. I love it. It's a song I wrote called Idols. And anybody, okay, Ed Sheeran fans in the room? Yes, great. All right, do you guys like how he does the whole looping thing? You guys like that? Okay, good. I got a treat for you.
He goes technically along. Sorry.
I'm sitting under foliage, oh, but nothing puts my heart to these numbers too short. When I turn out my pockets, but what do I know about the words I need, what I want, yeah. I know you bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. So help me fear you. Death takes away about everything we know, but love so afraid when it's already been overcome. Do I know about the what I need, what I want, yeah. I know you bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. So help me fear you. All of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. You bow down to the one you give all of your fear to. So help me fear you. Thank y'all so much. Let the soil rest for a while. Oh, my mouth, drop off your crooked smile. Oh, my soul, let go of all your spite. And all my body, shed off all your might. And simply rest here a while. Simply rest for a while. Simply rest for a while. Simply rest for a while. 'Cause all my fingers grow so anxious on these strings. All my voice grows weary singing all these things. My mind's weighed down with all that I've done wrong. As my soul forgotten all his favorite song. As my soul forgets in all its favorite song, it's just to rest with you a while. Just to rest with you a while. Oh, just to rest with you a while. Just to rest with you a while. You're the leader of my soul. Will you come and make me whole? Help me to rest with you a while. Help me to rest with you a while. You guys having an okay time so far? Doing good? All right, this is awesome. Okay, so we got, what grades are in here? If you're in 7th grade, raise your hand. 7th grade, wow, check it out, it's so cool. Okay, do we still have middle school? Is just 7th and 8th, or we have 6th grade in there now too? 7th and 8th? It's so funny, I was so used to that, and then like you leave this part of the country, and everybody's like, 7th grade middle school, 6th grade is middle school. That's awesome. All right, we got any seniors in the room? Any seniors? Okay, where are you looking at going to school next year?
I applied to 11 and just had a J status at university.
No way! That's so
I went there
cool.
last weekend. I had my audition on Saturday, and I applied to Berkeley College of Music as like my reach. Did you go there?
No.
It's really hard. It's like my reach lottery one, and then I got into the unique music program.
What's your name?
I'm Maddie.
Give it up for Maddie, everybody. Come on. That's so funny. My dad went to James Madison University. Yeah, he was a clarinet major for like all of a year.
Yeah, it's very music there.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I'm not good enough to be here, so he left. So he
No, I
left.
know. I'm a little worried that if I do get in, I'll be like so just competitive with everybody because they're so nice people.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're like, oh yeah, we have a whole dorm building just for musicians.
That's hard.
And you have to get it on a scholarship. And I'm like, oh.
That's hard.
Like, I'm just like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
I've gone to some schools that don't have, like, I want to be music education.
Yeah.
And then, like, my undergrad here. But
Yeah.
a lot of them don't have, like, as good as music programs. So I have, like, some scholarship offerings already from, like,
Yeah.
Chicago and, like, other places. But I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to even go there
Yeah.
because they don't have it. But my top three are, like, Berkeley, James Madison.
That's awesome. Give it for Maddie one more time. That's awesome. Give it up. All right. So I said we're gonna do couple more originals. Couple more originals, and we'll toss some covers in here. Tell you what, we're gonna take a little break. We'll do a cover right now. We got any Imagine Dragons fans in the house? Okay. All right. Okay. This is really crazy. Let me think about this. Okay. So I think this song came out in like 2010. How old were you guys in 2010? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so painful. This is even more painful. I was with college students at my alma mater. Went to a Bible school out in New York, right? I was with them on Saturday night, and I was like, so how old were you guys? They're like, oh, I was like 4 or 5. And I'm like, oh, no, and you're in college now? I was like, this is breaking my heart. All right, this is a little bit different version of this song, but I hope you guys will like it, all right? I'm waking up to ash and dust. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust, breathing in the chemicals. I'm breaking in, then shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. I'm waking, I feel it in my bones here, enough to make my systems go. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age. I raise my flag, then don my clothes. It's a revolution, I suppose. We'll paint it red to fit right in. I'm breaking in, then shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. So I'm waking, I feel it in my bones, enough to make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Whoa, 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 whoa. Radioactive, radioactive. Whoa, 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 whoa. Radioactive, radioactive. All systems go down. The sun, it hasn't died. Deep in my bones here, strength from inside. All systems go now. The sun, it hasn't died. Deep in my bones here, strength from inside. Alright, so we still got some choir members in here right now. Alright, you guys, you have no excuse not to sing along with us, okay? You guys ready for some woes? Concert's not a concert without some woes. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Nice and loud, come on. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. Loud, come on. I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones here, enough to make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. I feel it in my bones here, enough to make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. To make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age. Whoa, 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 whoa. Radioactive, radioactive. Thank you all. We got any Leon Bridges fans in the house? Leon Bridges, oh man, a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna play a little clip of the song. If you guys don't know it, then I'm gonna do a little throwback for the adults in the room instead, okay? You guys know this one? I'll go, oh, take me to your river, no, I wanna go. Raise your hand, who knows that song? Okay, not enough. I'm sorry, we're gonna move on to this one. Okay, for all the teachers in the room, it's a little throwback to 2003, I think. So when I was at Bagnall, there's a teacher named Mrs. Dangora who was the art teacher. She's still there? No? Okay. She used to have this this record by John Mayer called Room for Squares on loop, like constantly. I think she had a little crush on him, and so she would put little dreamy John Mayer on for all of us elementary school kids. This is a song called No Such Thing. Welcome to the real world, she said to me condescendingly. Take a seat, take your life and plot it down in black and white. Well, I never lived the dream of the prom kings and drama queens. I'd like to thank the best of me, but still had to hear my sting. They love to telling you to stay inside the lies. But something's better on the other side. I wanna run through the halls of my high school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. I just found out there's no such thing as a real world, just a lie you've got to rise above. I had to play that one. Thank you guys so much. Just to give you a little background on that one, so when I was here back in 2014, this was when I was first starting to get into John Mayer. So I told the story in the first class, but I'll tell it here too. So I had, I'd kind of grown up with some of John Mayer's top tracks back in the early 2000s in my art class, and then I totally forgotten about it for like years. And then I was over here at Pawtucket Middle School, I think it was 7th grade art class, and somebody was playing it on their phone at the end of the class, and I was like, oh my gosh, what song is that? I've been trying to find that for years. And they're like, oh, it's John Mayer, Why Georgia? And so then I started listening to that song. My dad gave me one of his old iPods that hasn't been around for a while, iPod. And although they're coming back now, right? People are starting to use like the old iPods, old MP3 players. Anybody here have like an old digital camera you're starting to use for like no reason?
Well, it's fun.
It's fun, it's true, you're right.
I use Polaroid.
The Polaroid is totally valid. Polaroid is totally legit. That's so fun. I love it. That's so cool. So I started listening to my dad's iPod and started knowing these songs. And when I was in high school, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a John Mayer fan. I was right here in AP Government. And one of my friends was like, oh what, you like No Such Thing in Why Georgia? And I was like, yeah. Like, you're not a real fan if that's all you know. And I was like, okay, sorry. Started listening through his catalog and became a huge John Mayer fan. So much so that for my high school quote underneath my yearbook picture, I was feeling very artsy, and so I took a little John Mayer quote from the bridge of that song, I am invincible as long as I'm alive. And I was like, this is so good, this is so artsy, it was so dumb. But it was such a cool thing, because now my 10-year reunion would have been this past year, and now getting to come back with you guys is super cool. Give a round of applause for yourself. Seriously, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for coming out here today. I appreciate it very, very much. I'll play a couple more songs here. So we got some soul fans now. So we got some soul music. All right, this is a little tune I wrote called Only You. And it's kind of a similar tune to the River song by Leon Bridges, but you guys don't know that one, so now you got some homework to do, okay? Last thing I'll say before we kind of play a couple more songs and get to hang out for a little bit. If you guys want to keep up with me after today, I'll have a little QR code up here on my phone. You can scan that. Follow me on Spotify, Instagram, all that good stuff. Got some new songs coming out, and this is a really cool thing. Before you even know why, you need to give it up for Mr. Schumacher one more time. I loved getting to have Mr. Schumacher as a jazz teacher back when I was here. And during my time here, you guys would not know this guy, is a guy named Alden Slack, who was a great saxophone player when I was here. Yeah, Alden Slack. Give it for Alden Slack. You don't know who he is, but he's awesome. He's great. And he ended up going to Mr. Schumacher, what college? Was it your old college?
Bard.
Bard, right? Okay, yeah, it was Bard. So he went to Bard, got even more nasty on saxophone. And then this song I wrote called Safety, which I'll show you after this one, I heard a saxophone solo on it, and I was like, Alden, please record a saxophone solo. And he killed it. And I sent it to Mr. Schumacher, the original axe man himself, and he was like, this has the Mr. Schumacher seal of approval. So if you want to be able to hear that song when it comes out, probably next month or in February, make sure to scan the QR code. I'd love to see you guys online, on Spotify, all that good stuff. Right now I'm going to play Only You, I'll play Safety, and then we'll head out of here. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you. There's a kind of peace that no amount of sleep could ever solve, no. Say, well, there's a kind of depth chemicals inside my head can never go to. I can keep on rough riding all I want to. Try writing all the songs to clear my head, to clear my name. It always ends up just the same, it's true, yeah. It's only you, only you, yeah. Only you. There's just some relief, no pity and no grief could ever give me. Oh, tried and tried have I, it can't bridge the deep divide that I go to. I can keep on rough riding all I want to. Try writing all the songs to clear my head, to clear my brain. It always ends up just the same, it's true, yeah. Only you. We got one more song for you guys, and we get to hang out for a few minutes before we gotta get out of here. This is a song called Safety. Like I said, if you want to keep up with me after, I'll keep my phone up here at the QR code. And unfortunately, Alden isn't here today, so I'm going to have to sing the saxophone solo for you. If I thought ahead, I should have had Mr. Schumacher play it. I should have thought of that. That would be incredible. This song called Safety. Thank you guys so much. And hey, we hope to see you again soon. I never learned somebody else's way around. I always felt like I'd be better in my own town. But something's wrong when that home just ain't all that it was. And something's wrong when you realize it's just because all I'm looking for is safety. A little bit more than a maybe. Something more than I'm crazy. Something more like safety. You're sitting smiling at me sweet, but before our eyes meet for just too long. You can be such a shelter when things go wrong, but I don't really help you when I'm thinking wrong. How all I'm looking for is safety, a little bit more than a maybe, something more than I'm crazy, something more like safety. La 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 la. Do 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 do. Are you guys are choir, so you have to sing some harmonies, okay? Safety. That'll be your part, okay? Safety. Safety. A little louder. Safety. Keep going. Give me something more than I'm crazy. Something more like safety. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it, all right? Well, hey, that's all I got. I think we got about 10 minutes until class gets out. So once again, I'll leave the QR code up here if you want to scan it to follow along. And be looking after that song. Thank you guys so much. Give it up for Mr. Schumacher and the wonderful staff here at Pawtucket Regional High School. Appreciate you guys.